Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about unpaid family caregivers and why I advise that you do not become an unpaid family caregiver if at all possible. If you have a job or you're going to need a job, do not give that up to become an unpaid family caregiver. Do not quit your job. Do not scale back your work at that job, taking fewer hours and fewer responsibilities. And don't stop looking for employment if you need a job. I mean, if you get into this thing and you're planning on, if I'm going to get inheritance or I'm going to get a life insurance policy, you might discover some nasty surprises when you finally go to collect. I'm really speaking directly to those of modest financial means. If you're financially well off, don't need to work ever again the rest of your life, then this video probably won't help you out. It give you no benefit at all. But I have learned in my long life that just because you're comfortable and set now, that doesn't mean you're going to be comfortable and set later. Other things come into unexpected things happen, market crashes, business crashes, and everything else. For most of us who became family caregivers, we began being those caregivers in the early stages of the disease, doing a little bit here, a little bit there, helping when we were needed. Then it progressed as our loved ones, LO, as their dementia progressed. It began to nibble away at every part of our lives. In the beginning, most of us got into this not thinking about time frames. I mean, we might have suspected or knew something about life expectancy, but we really didn't think about it too much. We just got in there and did what we did on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a little at a time. And we had no clue that becoming a family caregiver, paid or unpaid, we had no clue that this would go on and on and on. It was much longer than we thought, longer than we assumed. More time, work, effort, energy, money, sleepless nights, more than we ever thought it would evolve into. We just never considered it deeply. Now, over time, it's very common that for a family caregiver to become more burdened. Our LOs need more care and monitoring, more day-to-day everything. And so family caregivers can begin to scale back at work and even quit work. Some people make the mistake of, well, I hate my job. I'd rather stay home and take care of my loved one. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because doing that, becoming a full-time family caregiver, unpaid, that's fine for a year, maybe two. But when it gets to be 4 years, 5 years, 10 years and longer, what you've just done, the only thing you've accomplished, other than take care of your own, is you've ruined your life. You've ruined your life. You won't have a recent work history. Your lifetime earnings are less. Your work credits for Social Security do not accumulate. Your Social Security benefits will be lower. And if you become disabled and apply for this Social Security disability, you won't qualify for it because your work credits are not enough. Scaling back work, taking less work, you're going to have career penalties and no promotions and nobody knows what you do anymore. And you've got no additions to your retirement savings or investment savings, no safety net. And when you commingle money, share bills, rents, begin to rely on your loved one, the person you're caring for, income, their Social Security or whatever, their assets, and you begin to rely on that as part of your living and lifestyle. When they die or go into a nursing home, well, you're going to end up in a rock and a hard place. You'll no longer have that money coming in to support your household. You might have to move, downsize, or become homeless because you do not have a job or enough income or savings to stay in your current or apartment. I cannot cover every scenario here or explain every single thing. What I can say, again, forcefully, is do not become an unpaid caregiver unless there's no other possible solution. Even if you have to go to work just to make enough money to pay other people to caregive for your loved one, do that. Do that. And just keep your job. If you must become a full-time caregiver, find ways to get paid by the state, by Medicaid, or the VA or Medicare or some agency. Find a way to get paid. Or get paid by your loved one. In my personal opinion, and from lots of experience and listening and hearing life stories from others, a full-time family caregiver should pay from their loved one's income and assets. Whatever is not being spent on medical necessities and food should be paid to the family caregiver. If it is not possible for you as a family caregiver to be paid by the state or Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, then your RO should pay you. And they should pay you, and then you in turn pay all the rents and utility and bills out of what they give you. But you should never, as a family caregiver, pay any portion of the rent or bills or utilities half when you are a full-time family caregiver. Part of your compensation as a caregiver should be room and board. If your loved one goes into a nursing home for long-term care and only has Social Security and Medicaid, all of that Social Security will go to the facility, the nursing home, except for it's about $30 or $40. Your loved one doesn't get keep that money, and you don't get to keep that money at home. So why would you, as a family caregiver, have to pay half the rent and bills when you're not being paid as a caregiver? Someone's going to be paid. So make sure you are one of them. Give your loved one $30 or $40 and use the rest for bills, utilities, rent. Consider that as part of your income as a caregiver. Now, if you cannot do any of that, if you can't somehow get paid from any source, but you're living at home as an unpaid caregiver, have no job, no income, you need to file for yourself for supplemental Social Security, income, SSI, or welfare, or anything else you can apply for that can provide you with income and support for you as a caregiver, not your loved one. That's a whole different thing. What else can an unemployed and unpaid family caregiver do when they have nothing else? Those are the things you would have to do. And you might get a little bit of in with Social Security and get approved for SSI because you're a family caregiver. Depends on a lot of variables. So really what I'm advising here is do not quit your job. If you need a job, and you will need a job in the future, keep your job. You will not be saving money by becoming a family caregiver. You will not. You'll be costing yourself money and work history, credits, and yes, work skills and interpersonal skills. You've been a family caregiver living at home 24 hours a day in the middle of this. How you relate to people, how you deal with people changes dramatically. And the longer this goes on, the longer you are unpaid and a full-time family caregiver, the more it will ruin your life and your future. Perhaps not today, but it will tomorrow. Do whatever you have to do to mitigate that negative impact on your life. You will not, after your loved one passes away or moves away, you will not be jumping right back into your previous life, exactly where you left it when you traded that to become an unpaid family caregiver. You're older, you are more worn out, and the world has moved on without you. You need to consider that before you make the hard decision to give up your life and work. You really do. In hindsight, so it is in hindsight that some of us realize this. Too late, perhaps. But even now, we need to make changes so that we are protected, that we have safety nets, and so we won't end up homeless or totally broke and unemployed once our loved one passes away and we no longer count on their income. We had an apartment where we both paid into it, and I would say I was not getting paid as a family caregiver. So what happens now? You don't have a job, you have no history, work history, you have no income. What happens now when your loved one passes and there is no more Social Security coming in? That's something to consider. Not everyone will agree with what I just said, and that is fine. This is my opinion, my thoughts, and my words. Some people will not have these worries and burdens, they're well off. They will never face being homeless because they were an unpaid family caregiver. They have backups and safety nets. But a lot of people out there who became family caregivers, unpaid family caregivers, don't have any safety net. They're living day to day. And some people have no choice, but at least they feel they must do this. Come on, unpaid family caregiver. But I still say you need to protect yourself. We need to plan for our future. Our loved ones, they don't have a future. Thank you for listening to this, and I hope give some insight to some of you and will help you make decisions and understand why you must be proactive in protecting yourself. Making sure you have a safety net. Make sure you are paid. Because I guarantee you this, if you're not being paid and you stop doing it, somebody else will be paid to do what you were doing for free. You're not saving anybody any money. You're costing yourself money. And this disease, dementia, you think, when you go into it, you think it's going to be a very short time, or you might not even think about how long it will be. You just go into it, start doing it. And then all of a sudden you realize it's been 4 years, it's been 5 years, and there's no end in sight. Things continue and continue. And that all of a sudden, you don't have any work history. You don't have any Social Security work credits, and you haven't accumulated more income. So that your Social Security, when you retire, is going to be higher, or your SSI not going to be as high, or your disability won't be as high, or you might not even be allowed to apply for SSI because you don't have the work credit. So think hard about all these things before you become an unpaid family caregiver. I'm not saying don't become a family caregiver. What I am saying is do not, unless there is absolutely no other choice, become an unpaid family caregiver. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll talk to you again at another time.